Konnichiwa everyone. Got a little bit of a video today and we're going to be talking about these guys. These are called Hatagane clamps and these are traditional Japanese woodworking clamps. These are basically made from softer metals like brass and some are made from steel. These big ones here are made of steel. But these are interesting because they don't really function quite like your typical Western woodworking clamps. As you can see, you got one screw here that kind of sets the gap and then you got this one here that actually adds pressure to it. They're very, very light, they're very, very delicate, which makes them good for fine work and doing small things. But they're kind of cool because, you don't see them a whole lot. There are very few trades in traditional Japanese woodworking that really use these. The only one I've read about is in Odate's book where he talks about a guy that makes tansu cabinets using a bunch of big ones like this to do edge jointing and glue up, which is actually a great idea because if these don't apply a ton of pressure, you cannot over clamp. Therefore, you won't ding up and mar your work since you can't, you can't crush the wood or anything like that. Now, being made of brass too, these actually look really cool. I kind of like how this one's aged out a bit. It must have been sitting around for a while. And now some of these are also made of steel, and the steel are much more heavy duty compared to the brass, but even so, just by the way these things are designed, it can't give too much clamping pressure. So you're still not going to be able to crush your work even with the bigger guys like that. So I'm going to do a quick demonstration with these guys using this cherry I've been saving here. The only reason I've been saving it is because I have no idea what to do with it. And with the baby coming, the wife is kind of getting at me for keeping these big pieces. So we're going to reach a compromise. I'm going to cut these down to smaller pieces so it doesn't look like I have that much. Pro tip for you husbands out there. So we're going to get to work here real quick. This shouldn't take too long since these are just clamps, there's not a ton to them. So like I said earlier, because these do not have a massive amount of clamping power, you're actually not going to destroy your wood. You're not going to over crush it simply because your clamps are incapable of actually smushing down the wood beyond what you can take. So we tighten this guy here. And so operating these is pretty much like any normal clamp. Put another one on the other side here. Back this guy out just a bit to give ourselves some more wiggle room. Essentially, you get it squared up to your piece here. You set your distance post. I actually don't know what the name for this part is. But you set this guy in fairly tight and then you apply pressure here. And there you go. And I'm not even doing that too hard and I can still lift it up. They do look pretty cool, which is kind of nice. It's always nice to work with pretty things even if they're not the most practical all the time. Now these don't clamp super hard, so we can't apply too much pressure with the saw. And I think we can get away with this here, and we should be okay. There we go. And voila. So having that there keeps all your individual bits from falling off, and you get one nice, clean, consecutive cut. As clean as you can get with a Ryoba, at least. Just imagine that we're edge jointing this together. Now, this is where one little advantage of these comes into play that I do like, especially if you're joining up a bunch of smaller pieces like this. The fact that you have a square base in between your clamping points here means that when you're clamping these things together, you can actually get it to align better than you can with most Western clamps. A lot of Western clamps, it seems, have a thin post just running down the middle there that really isn't square. But with this, I can actually create a reference point just using the beam, or the bar, whatever you want to call it, from my clamps here. And I can squeeze them in place. And if you got more than one, to get an even better reference point, or a square stock, whatever you want to call it, probably is a technical term, I just don't know it. You can easily put another one on the other side, like so. Apply a little more pressure and squeeze it down however you need to. There we go. And so having two reference points on both clamps there will help me get a better glue up. It'll also help me see where there's flaws. You can kind of see on this one it's a little bit out of alignment, but it's not a big deal. We're not actually gluing these. But anyway, that is a distinct advantage that these have over Western style clamps, in the sense that if you're gluing up a lot of small pieces like this, it does help you keep better alignment just by having that square spine, or a square bar. If anyone knows what the actual name of that part is, please let me know in the comments. I'm not a machinist by trade, so I'm just making stuff up and using my own intellect and vocabulary to get things described. And depending on the size of the work that you're doing, you have smaller clamps and bigger clamps. I could clamp this together with a small one here. That would be if I just wanted some very, very light pressure. Let's get this here. And there we go. I do still get a good square reference off of the back edge of that bar there. But if I wanted to do both of these together, we can simply unclamp them, and they unclamp really easily too, just by undoing the post here. Just like that. You don't have to unscrew a bunch of stuff. They are pretty fast, which is nice. We can line this guy up exactly how we need it. And just like I showed before, you set your post here, and you can clamp it. These steel guys are going to get much more tension than the brass guys will. Keep adding clamps, but if you alternate sides like this, especially with edge jointing, it does give you a better flat surface, or not a flatter surface. It does give you a better reference point because you're adding a reference on the top, the back, and the top again, and you can add one more on the back, whatever you want to do. But it does help keep your pieces aligned very, very well. And yeah, so if we were gluing that up, that would actually be just fine, because I've got a flat reference for all three pieces to help keep this thing lined up. But yeah, these are the Hatagane clamps, and that is how they work. Alright, so that was just a quick summary of these wonderful and cool little things. Now before you leave an angry comment, I do realize that there are Western clamps that can do similar things, such as the bar clamps, pipe clamps that will work well for edge jointing and stuff, but have you ever seen one made of brass? And have you ever seen one that's this small and this delicate and detailed? So if you're a guy who likes to make lots of small little projects, you might consider picking up a couple of these. They are a little bit expensive, but honestly, it's really, it is what it is. I mean, you're not going to find them in a super, super good deal unless you find someone that's clearing out his shop, of which then you could probably make a good deal. But anyway, they don't do everything, but the things that they do is actually really cool, and they're quite neat. Plus, it just looks cool to work with them, and they're kind of a neat little part of history. They're not the oldest tool in Japanese woodworking, you know, the traditional style, but they are a neat tool. So anyway, thank you guys for checking out this short little video. Hope everyone is having a fantastic summer. If you guys do want to support what I do here on the channel, consider looking at the Patreon account. The link is in the description box down below. And a big thanks to the patrons who do support me on Patreon. You guys are awesome. Can't do what I do without you. You guys rock. So like I have said in the previous videos, I am expecting my first child soon, so it will be a long, long time before any other videos come out. And whatever videos I do make are probably going to be small little bits like this. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys like the content. Make sure to share and subscribe to the channel. As always, have an awesome day. Arigatou gozaimasu. Sayonara.